Welcome to part 7 of this video series that describes making a steam test plant. This video covers modifications to the boiler feed pump so that it can be integrated into the plant. This photo shows the feed pump and a 1/4-inch tube elbows that need installing on it. The feed pump is quite large, and I decided to use this one so that I could quickly fill the boiler when I need to. The suction and discharge fittings on the feed pump needed modifying so the elbows could be installed. Next, off camera, I set up the discharge fitting in the 3-jaw chuck and turned it down to remove the threads that made up the original compression fitting. I took very light cuts during this operation to avoid the fitting jumping out of the chuck. I then parted off excess length from the fitting using 1/16" parting tool. I've speeded up some of the clips in this video to avoid boredom while watching the video. I then drilled the fitting to a depth of a 1/4 inch using a letter S drill, which is tapping size for 3/8" 32 TPI. I then tapped the fitting 3/8" 32 TPI to a depth of a 1/4 inch. This will allow the 1/4 inch tube elbow to screw into the fitting. The suction fitting was drilled and tapped similar to the discharge fitting. First, the fitting was drilled to a depth of 1/4 inch with a number S drill. I then tapped the fitting 3/8" 32 TPI to a depth of a 1/4 inch. This will allow the 1/4 inch tube elbow to screw into the suction fitting. This photo shows the feed water pump with the elbows installed on the suction and discharge. During assembly, I used Loctite 542 to seal the fittings and ensured the ball bearings for the check valves were installed in the suction and discharge of the pump. The next step was to make the base for the feed pump. To start, I cut a piece of 1" 12L 14 square mild steel to length in my metal cutting chop saw. Next, I faced off the ends of the base in the milling machine to get the base to the correct length. The end mill I used was just the right length for this job, but it did chatter a little while cutting. I then blued one face of the base using a Sharpie in readiness for marking out the position of the mounting holes. I marked out the base with the height gauge. I then used an optical center punch to center punch the positions of the holes in the base. This photo shows the base with the positions of the mounting holes center punched. The holes at each corner of the base will be threaded to bolt the feed pump to the base. The 2 remaining holes will be used to mount the base to the steam plant baseboard. Next, it was over to the milling machine to drill holes. This clip shows one of the mounting holes for the baseboard being center drilled. This clip shows a through hole being drilled with a number 13 drill. This hole will be used to screw the base to the baseboard using a wood screw. This clip shows the same hole being countersunk with a countersinking tool. The countersink will ensure the wood screw head is flush with the top of the base. The next step was to drill and tap the 4 holes for mounting the feed pump to the base. I drilled the holes with a number 39 drill, which is tapping size for 540 TPI threads. I drilled the holes a 1/4 inch deep using the Z readout on the DRO as a guide. After drilling each hole, I tapped the threads with a 540 TPI tap. I used a taper tap first and then a bottoming tap to finish the threads. I took care not to break the taps by applying light pressure and backing off the tap regularly to clear any chips. This photo shows 540 TPI studs installed in the feed pump base. The studs were cut to ½ inch in length before installing them. I used Loctite 242 thread locker to lock the studs into the pump base. This photo shows the feed pump mounted on the pump base. I'll paint everything off camera before I install the pump on the steam plant baseboard. I'm very happy with the results so far though. So that's the feed pump base completed. Next, I'll be moving on to the feed water and condensate tanks. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to support my channel. Thank you.